Hello guys, it's me, Rogue Assassin here, and as you can see on the video, basically what the video's name is, what the video is called, and basically the image that I'm showing you, this is what if Deku was an inkling from Splatoon. This will be a female Deku because I don't have a lot of female Dekus on my channel. So might as well put in as one out there. The next video that might be coming out is the Bad Time Trio, What If, which is also another female Deku. Um, this will be a new Deku, of a new What If that I'm starting. I just thought it would be interesting. Okay, I'm back. How many YouTubers have done this? Maybe three. I have no idea. Probably four now. I might be the fourth one. I am not the leading man in this What If because people have done it before. This is what if Izuku was basically an inkling. This is a Splatoon What If, and basically I shall list Izuku's powers or Izuku's quirk. Izuku will have a mixture of two quirks. You will have a mutation quirk, which is basically he'll look more of a squid, and he can transform into a squid if he feels like. I hope I have that image here. Okay, okay, I got the picture. This is what he can turn into. Um, Deku would be a human slash squid. He can turn into a mini squid like this. He can swim in water, yes, but instead of swimming in water, he can also swim. He can also like how can I say it? Like move in like thin layers, like shallow layers of ink paint. If you played the Splatoon games, then you would know what I'm talking about. Basically, he moves faster when he's in this form, but it must be on like a bed of paint. So that means if he's going to move in this form, he needs to be there needs to be either like ink, like pink ink or other like any color ink underneath him at all times for him to basically slide and move faster in this form. And no one can see him when he's in this form as well. Deku's also gonna have a invisible a invisibility style. Basically, he can turn his body into basically invisible, like squids do. In real life, he can turn himself invisible. This is gonna be a sheep, and that's why I got the pictures here. He's gonna have this long, basically, it looks like, um, it look it looks sort of similar to arms, you can say, but basically that's hair for Izuku. Izuku will be able to change his color whatever you want. Basically, if you want it orange, you can have it orange. If you want it blue, it can be blue. And Izuku is gonna use, instead of like normal literal guns, he's gonna use paint weapons like ink gun, ink shotgun. Like, let me pull up all the weapons. This is basically Izuku's entire roster of weapons that he can use. All every single weapon that he's going to be using is all just paint purpose. I'm talking about every weapon that you see here is all just like basically ink guns. You have a roller, basically bucket, basically just ink weapons. He's gonna be playing basically paintball, you could say. I don't know what they call it. Paintball war, I think. I'm just gonna call it that. But you know how you can like basically like Splatoon. That's gonna be basically her favorite game to play. And just for a few other things, she's going to change her color into any color she wants from the roster you see here and the weapons she feel like using. But she's not going to get all the weapons immediately. That will just be stupid. She's going to gradually get weapons slowly. So this like the more we progress into this what if, the more weapons she'll gain. She'll probably have one in the beginning, and then when enter UA, she'll probably have 10 or 15. I don't know. This what if could go either way. because you can remember I don't use a script. I go one take, one time. So this is off the top of my head still, what ifs, and continuing the what if now. Um, how this will be taking place, this will be basically a mutation quirk. You'll be a squid, but his quirk is going to be another, basically like Shoto. He's going to have basically, his quirk is going to be mostly a squid quirk, and his second quirk is going to evolve around paint. He's going to have a graffiti quirk. Anything he paints, basically the same thing like on my other what ifs when I give Izuka a graffiti quirk, he can bring things to life. Basically similar like that. He can bring things to life, anything he draws will either, if he wants it to, can either come to like reality. Like if he draws a sword, he can make a sword. If he draws basically a monster, you can either make that thing like basically come to life and serve under him. Yeah, and just a neat thing if Deku like paints an entire like section. Say now if he paints like the road, like even if it's dry, it still will feel like water to him. Basically, he'll dive into his own paint, in a way. You can say like that, and he'll move faster if he's in the ink form. You can also basically he also has other like secondary weapons, like basically grenades, these like type secondary weapons, and also these weapons to be more specifically, hoop spray brigade, boomerangs, etc. etc. I don't actually know what some of the weapons do. I know that this is paint balloon, which is actually a grenade. I know that for sure. Sticky grenade. Yeah, but those will be specifically like these will be specifically what Deku will be using either in the anime and how Deku's gonna look. Obviously, he's gonna have the same hairstyle, look like this in the beginning. And I'm gonna begin the what if. Okay, oh yeah, and side note, none of this paint is gonna be harmful. Basically, it won't harm anyone in any way. It's just gonna be like quirk paint, so it won't harm anyone. It can be easily washed off, obviously, it's not permanent. So I'm gonna continue now. Um, okay, we begin off at Inko's birth, as Inko is giving birth to Izuki because it's a girl. Uh, and instead of like giving birth to a normal child, obviously human form, it's her squid form. As no one even knows what this is, as basically everyone's confused as Inko is basically asking questions about her child, as basically they're like, we don't actually know. As basically they give whatever the thing is, it's small now to Inko and like thus, as its eyes is closed, as basically Inko is like, what's happening? Is this my? As Inko asks, what is this? Is this my daughter? As they say, yes. We don't know what happened. If we, I don't even, as the doctor says, I don't even know what's happening. As basically, like on the hospital bed, instead of like just like blood, it's just van. Like when like Inko gave birth, like how can I say it? Um, it's not just like obviously when a person gives birth the person is like the baby is filled with blood, basically covered in blood, as everyone knows. um, Basically, if your parents discussed how you were born. But instead of like just being blood, it's more Izuki's quirk was active while Inko was basically giving birth to Izuki. So basically Izuki activated her quirk at the same time that he came out of her, her mother's womb, obviously. Same things. I don't know if I'm gonna get copyright. I don't know if YouTube's gonna strike my channel down for this, but still, I'm going for it. Yeah, so instead of there just being blood, it's just colors, ink colors, and the stuff is relatively safe. There's no bad slash, nothing's gonna get infected. As basically, Izuki is like different colors, like painted different colors, the squid thing. As basically, as basically, when it opens its eyes, it morphs into a child. Basically, a child with already hair. It has already hair, and this basically long tentacle, you can say, as also representing part of Izuki's hair. Izuki's gonna look just like this, as basically Ikaru's like basically the doctors like say that this is probably Izuki's quirk, as basically they ask Inko if they can basically keep a child in the hospital for a few days, as they are actually studying Izuki, as this is a relatively new quirk and they are trying to figure out what quirk Izuki has. As Izuki is constantly producing, basically Izuki is constantly, how can I say it, just moist, even in a squid form, and like when somebody like touches Izuki, their hands get covered in paint, and this is not permanent, it can be easily washed, but this can get out of hand when you're trying to study something, as Izuki is slippery like a squid, obviously, but she can't move right now because she's just been born, as they study her, but like for a few days, as Inko was basically in the hospital also for a few days, as basically they got all the information they know, as basically they told Inko that it's basically Izuki has a quirk, actually has a quirk. It's basically, I think, it's a mutation quirk that basically your child is a squid. We don't know what type of squid to call him, but a squid, and his quirk is some type of painting quirk. They don't know for sure because Izuki's still young, as basically they tell Inko to come back when like basically when Izuki is 5. As basically she agrees, as she takes Izuki home, as I'll give you a question for all the people that is basically 13 and above. 13 or 16 above. Here's a question for you all, and I know like 20 21 subscribers, okay, for 21 subscribers that has subscribed to my YouTube, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I need all the support I can get. Here's a question: how hard do you think it would be taking care of a baby that will basically doesn't know how to control its quirk and constantly produces paint whenever you touch it, and can turn into a squid and a human? How hard do you think it would be? Comment down below because I want to hear this. I want to actually hear your thoughts on this. I would say it's basically you have to clean up after it all the time. So I would assume very hard. And its bath times would be basically a very colorful trip. When I say a colorful trip, the water would be rainbow colors. Instead of the water just be see-through water, it would just be color water. And basically, I wouldn't say Izuku would like mess clothes. This paint can't get on clothes, by the way. So that's the one thing. It can't get on clothes, so you can just wipe it off and your clothes will be clean. Even if it's white, it can't get on clothes. As this paint also doesn't dry, but it's not slippery either. So you can walk in it and it will feel like water, but you won't slip on it. So yeah, Inko's household is going to be very colorful for the 5 years that she is going to raise like Izuki. As basically, if you walk into Inko's house now, you would think that it's a basically you would think like it's a art, like basically you're looking at basically an art gallery. The walls are painted different colors, like somebody just came here and splashed paint all over the house. That's what it looks like. But relatively, relatively, if you walk in, you'll be amazed. That's how Inko's house looks like now. As basically, Izuki is 5 now, as she still takes a liking to All Might, but not quite, as basically Izuki is now taken to the quirk doctor. As Izuki is wearing this, as you can see, this right now, 5-year-old Izuki, as she's taken to the quirk doctor, as the quirk doctor tests her quirk. But obviously they have to test the quirk in an empty white room. So basically, Izuki can turn, like I said, Izuki can turn into a squid. She can basically move faster in her own paint that she produces. If it's on the floor, she can move up walls as well. So if her paint is on the wall, she can go up a wall. She can basically jump a bit higher than she does in a human form. She can basically, she's invisible in her own paint, so you won't be able to see her. Um, and yeah, she can also like use. She doesn't like. No one knows this yet. She's basically a Quirkus was a graffiti like because they tested it. She drew something and it came like to real, like a ball, and it just basically it became real, but it was a paintball obviously, and it left a lot of paint while when she was finished. The room the white room that she was in was literally basically the room was rainbow once they were done with her, so they had to just wash it off with water. It easily goes away. It's very easy. It won't just stay. It's not a permanent thing. Even if you leave it for like years, it's still you can easily just like wipe it off, like basically wash it off, wipe it off anyway. As Inko's house inside is just white, like she gets white things because wooden stuff turning different colors looks weird. So she got a lot of white and silver things in Inko's house because of Izuku's quirk. Izuku likes to change. Izuku's quirk can change the color of basically anything in the house. Even like if Izuku's bare feet, her feet will leave like basically like mud footprints, but paint footprints. As basically Inko's house is colorful at all times. As Izuki can change her color, so if she changes the color, her hair color can change. Izuki can also make paint off her body, obviously, same things. Like I said back there, if you want to know Izuku's quirk, backtrack, then basically I'll explain. Basically, you'll find me explaining the quirk, Izuki's quirk. Basically, they discover all this about her quirk, except for her weaponizing water guns. As basically, Inko bought Izuku like a water gun because once they left the hospital, Inko bought a water gun just because Izuki wanted a water gun. As basically, instead of like like using her quirk, she like opened a bottle. Like, how can I say? How can I show you the weapon? Yeah, Izuki is using this weapon right now. That's a water gun. Basically, that's what the water gun looks like. As Izuki like on the top where basically you fill it with paint there. Instead of filling, Izuki fills it with water. She fills it with paint. As basically she's like, how can I say, playing in the house with it. As Inko can see this, that her quirk is actually, how can I say, turning a liquid-based weapon into like basically a weapon for a quirk. As this paint won't hurt anyone unless Izuki wants it to. So if Izuki like wants to shoot to hurt, then it will literally hurt. If she wants to shoot like she's trying to kill someone, she can pierce a person with her ink, per se. And she can also like, how can I say it? She can also like make it like rubber bullets. If she like basically only wants to hurt the person, the shots she fire with the ink weapon will be like rubber bullets. As Inko was as Izuki is always fascinated on paint wars. Basically, because of the nature of her quirk, she's always fascinated on paint wars. As this is a 10-year-old Izuku, as basically Inko takes Izuki to a paint war. As Izuki has her water gun, as she like as basically there was basically if you win this water gun basically paint gun tournament in a way, then you would get another two weapons, which are okay. Let me see where I can find it now. Ah, there they are. Right in the corner here. These double. Ah, gosh. The double paint cannons, basically, just there above the bucket, like the double paint cannons. Yeah, you like Izuki can get that. But here's the thing with a quirk as well. Izuki just needs to like touch a liquid-based weapon, and the entire weapon will be filled with ink, and she'll have continuous ink until like basically she gets tired, until she like wears a quirk out, and she gets tired. As basically Inko takes Izuku to this paint war, as Izuki is basically a natural at this, basically using like Izuki like this is like a room you can say. It's like a big room where this paint war is taking. It's not taking out place outside. It's taking place in this big room as people are getting ready. It's a free fall, obviously. As basically when the match starts, Izuku runs. As Izuku doesn't know like she could use her quirk in this like type of way. As Izuki is basically running with her one gun as she comes across a person and shoots that person. Basically, like 5 shots and you're out. As she shoots him once, like just gets him once in the head, as he turns around and fires at her, as Izuki like just gets out of the way. As basically she's hiding like behind this wall that was like this basically play wall that was built to basically block shots. As Izuki comes around the corner, basically when this person followed her, she comes around the other way, shoots him twice, and this guy just needs 2 more shots and he's out. As basically Izuki starts running, as basically she comes on, and this wall is also like a maze. It's like a maze that was built for like the children that were playing. As basically she comes to this like block, as she sees this person that was chasing her, as he points a gun, basically a ink gun to her, as you say it's end of the line, and she's like thinking now like how can she get out of this, as she like basically thinks of a quirk, as basically she shoots the wall, as he's like what is she doing, as basically she turns into a squid and goes up goes up like basically the ink that she put on the wall, and she's on top now, as basically she fires down and hits him twice, he's out, as basically she's like basically now learning a quirk here, as basically she like basically like every time like she starts running, like now as a habit she thought of, every time she runs she basically like shoots like ink, as she knows she has non-stop ink, unlike other people, like if their ink gun runs out they have to like go back because they only have a limited amount of shots. Izuku doesn't have a limited amount of shots, she has infinite because of a quirk, as she's shooting the floor, as basically now her quest is to turn this entire place into a certain color to make it easier on herself, and she's like basically like making the floor a color of she's making the color of purple, basically light bluish purple, as the entire floor is basically she's making that color, as she's shooting the ground, as basically another person comes up from the other side, as she gets behind a wall, as they fire, as basically she fires back twice, hitting them twice, as basically she starts running backwards, so she turns into her squid and runs backwards to the path that she came from. As basically when she got into another person's paint, basically she shot basically to stop Izuku. She shot in front of basically the path that she made, as that entire basically it slowed Izuku down, as basically she realizes this color paint is slowing her down, as she shoots back like before like this person that was chasing her could even like basically have a chance to fire back, as this person gets behind a wall. As Izuki is like, that was close. I'm learning more about my quirk every day. As Izuki like starts like running, and I know Izuki can change her color to whatever I want, but basically in a paint war, if a like basically she's in a paint battle or any sort of paint battle, her quirk will only keep her on one color, and she's wondering why she can't change like into any other color to make it easier on herself to move through different types of paint. As because it's a paint battle, her quirk doesn't allow her to do that. As basically she figures this out that her quirk is not allowing her to do it if she's in a basically change colors if she's in a paint battle. As Izuki is basically like retreating, as the goal that basically like got the basically Izuki shot twice, you can say Izuki hit twice, was defeated by another person, as that person was also taken down by another person. This is now basically there are 5 people in this battle left, as basically you can say 25% of the stage is now covered in the purplish blue paint. 25% of it, as she's still like painting the entire stage, as basically she's going on to the other 25%, as basically she finds the other two, as this one person only has one shot. He just took out the other person, and this one person only has 5 shots out of his gun, so he can take out one person. If he misses one of the bullets, then his paint attacks, then he's basically a lost cause, unless that person was hit once. And he also, if he gets hit once, he's out. As his last battle, like he like took a lot of lives off of him, as Izuki came with a sneak attack and basically attacked him from behind, as basically he was out, as she continued painting the stage while everyone was trying to find each other, as while she like a few like hours later, like 75% of the stage is now painted like a certain color, as Izuku is doing the last side, as Izuku finally decides to go in the center, as she is now like moving quite fast with her quirk around the stage. As quirks, people can use their quirks if they want to in this paint war, as basically she's moving pretty fast around this like basically the field now because the entire stage is painted. As she comes up to the center, as she's moving like she's invisible. In her squid form, she's invisible because she's that color that she painted the entire stage as she's moving up walls, going on top of like block sides, as she sees like 2 of the people because there were 5 left. She took out one. She sees all 4 of them having a face-off, as basically Izuku has advantage now because Izuku doesn't know she can do this, but this is going to be one of Izuku's like paint abilities. As Izuku has been like, how can I say it? She's been like now that the stage is, gosh, yeah, because Izuku was swimming in this paint for a while now. Basically, one of Izuku's basically is what Izuku can do is turn herself into a paint bomb, as Izuku basically sees the 4 and they're all close together, as she's like, this is my perfect chance. As basically Izuku wanted to morph back, as basically she's on a high, like she's high up on a block basically. As basically Izuku jumps in a squid form, everybody sees this squid thing flying, as basically it lands in the center, as like when it's about to touch, as Izuku like uses his quirk in a way. Izuku just like did it on instinct, as all you like saw was a paint explosion, as basically the entire all four of the basically children were covered in this paint, as basically Izuku's like basically morphs back as like basically because she's a inkling, she sounds basically kind of like also an inkling, as basically she's like, wow, I didn't expect I could do that, cool, and she's like, cool, as basically Izuku just won the paint war against using her quirk, as is like this is how like what Izuku's wearing, but her color is purple, no, a lightish purple, bluish, I don't know like what color to call that, but that's what Izuku's color is, and that's what she's wearing. As Izuku's like, I won, I'm impressed. As basically they give her the prize. I would say it's 10,000 prize money because she won against like, say now there was like 25 children, as also, and also she got a gun, basically a paint weapon, as it was this too, that double guns that you see there, as basically Izuku got a new weapon, and she's like, cool, as she spins it, as it fills up with paint immediately, as she uses it, as basically she's dual wielding now two guns, as basically Inko takes her home, as I'm also gonna like, no I'm not, never mind, I'm not gonna do that, as Inko goes to the same school as Bakugo, as Bakugo is not that, he's still arrogant, but he doesn't pick on Izuku, because number one, I don't think Bakugo would care because he thinks that Izuku's quirk is useless. And I don't think you, because she has a quirk and it's a kind of cool, and it makes her kind of cool, he wouldn't pick on her all that much. As Izuku is basically, I'm gonna do a time skip to where the anime starts because there's not much that takes place. As just Izuku gets two more weaponry. Izuku gets that, and where is the sniper? Jeez, the long range sniper. Okay, Izuku gets this. She buys it, and she makes this rolling pin. She makes it herself, and she also buys this basically sniper. In a way, she makes the rolling pin, buys the sniper, because she felt like it. She just needed more weaponry. As basically Izuku has these two weapons now, as Izuku is also training her quirk, learning more about it, as she's also made a grenade, like the first like grenade weapon her quirk can produce, which is basically a literal like grenade weapon. I would say her quirk can produce this, which is basically a paint balloon. Like her quirk can produce this, but she like needs to wait for a while, and she needs to get a little bit of, how can I say it, a paint, as basically Izuku is walking out the, like basically walking out of school, because it's basically everything happens in canon. As Izuku's walking out of school, hold up, Izuku's color is pink now, light pink. As Izuku's walking out of school, it's the end of the year, she's gonna train for UA. As I would say everything happens in canon, but when the teacher announces that Izuku wants to go to UA, all the children laugh, as basically Izuku is like, what you laughing for? I mean, you don't know what my quirk can do. So, as basically the children's like, yeah, we all know. It can make paint and you can play paint games, paint war games. As basically all the children start laughing. As basically, just because Izuku got angry, she made a paint balloon and threw it directly in the face of the child that said that. As she's like, if you want to act like that. Basically, Izuku's more confident, and Izuku has kind of a short temper. As basically, Izuku is like, if you want to act like that, then why don't you take a paint balloon to the face? As she throws the paint balloon in the basically child's face, as it bursts in the child's face. As basically like, oh, now look what you did. My clothes is filled with paint. As basically she's like calm down, like calm. Basically, she says calm, calm. I don't know what. Yo, I had that word in my head now. Basically, she just says calm down. That paint is easily removed, and it won't stain your clothes. Basically, Izuku says as basically basically he wipes the paint off. As you can say, it's like a slime of sort of, in a way, but it's more watery. As he wipes it off and wipes his face, as basically this child is basically pissed off at Izuki. As Bakugo agrees with this one, it's like you can't like use your quirk is not meant for basically hero work. It's meant for more entertainment. As Izuki is like whatever Bakugo. As basically like she ignores like Bakugo now. As basically she's like just ignores like arrogant people like Bakugo. She just ignores them. As basically Bakugo hasn't taken any note of Izuki until now. As basically Izuki basically leaves, but before she leaves, she is cornered by Bakugo's lackeys. As basically Bakugo is like, drop out now. Your quirk is not made to be a hero. As basically Izuki is like, basically says like, and so what if my quirk is not made to be a hero? As basically like basically Bakugo says, like I said, your quirk is not made to be a hero. It's just made for entertainment. As basically Izuki gets angry and would say she has her dual wield weapons. These guns on her. It's just you can't see it. She has it on her. It's just it's like under her jacket, you can say. Her jacket in a way. As she pulls out, basically she gets angry. As she's like, so what? Please, so what? You don't know what my quirk can do. As Bakugo is like, I have a good idea what your quirk can do. As basically Izuku like pulls out a gun and shoots Bakugo. Just pulls out an ink gun and shoots him. As Bakugo gets hit by this paintball, as it hurts a lot, it's like, ah, how did you? How, as Bakugo is thinking, how can this paint attack just hurt me that easily? As basically Izuku is like, my quirk is more than what meets the eye, as she says, as she looks at Bakugo in an angry way. As basically she walks past basically an angry Bakugo. As basically Izuku is like, I don't want to fight you, Bakugo. But I'm getting into UA, no matter what you say. As basically she walks off. As Bakugo is like that little piece of, as basically Bakugo wanted to turn and basically, how can I say, punch her. But then Bakugo just sees a whole line of just paint leading out of the gate and basically leading out of the gate as Bakugo is like, as basically she just disappeared on Bakugo. As Bakugo was like thinking, I'll get you back for that one. As basically Bakugo's like, just watch me. As I would say that she didn't meet the sludge villain because she doesn't need a shortcut. She didn't take the shortcut, so All Might still defeated the sludge villain and took the bottle away. The reason why I'm not adding the sludge villain in is because I don't see any like I don't see them like I don't see a need for character development between Bakugo and Izuki. That's why. And I don't see like All Might is not gonna give Izuki one for all because Izuki's quirk is already powerful enough. It may not be like like basically it may not be like to the point where it is kind of OP, but still it it is quite powerful for a quirk. Basically on the borderline of kind of Bakugo and Todoroki. And if you can't see like Izuki's quirk basically that powerful, Izuki can draw anything. Izuki is like basically a like she likes to draw and she can draw anything. Anything she wants. And that will take the properties of what she draws. So if she draws a sunset on a building and it's nightfall, you will literally think it's a sunset. So it will take basically, and you're looking at this wall, you would think it's a sunset because it would take the properties of a sunset. If you if she draws a sun on a page and throws it at somebody, it will literally take the properties of a sun and burn the person alive. Yeah, even if it's a quirk, she can do a lot of things with it. She can make basically paint fire, and she can basically use it to attack, basically hurt anybody. And she can also decide to make her basically her paint bullets, basically her paint bullets when she shoots somebody, either be penetration, so she can literally the bullets go through somebody and can kill them, or basically rubber. Basically, it will hit them and it will hurt a lot. Or she doesn't like makes it doesn't hurt her at all. As basically her quirk is quite powerful, as she can also move into her own, like basically if she makes a path of paint, she can move through it. And she can use any water weapon, basically a weapon that like basically involves liquid, she can use. So if she splashes a villain with like a bucket of paint, that that villain will either be paralyzed or very badly in pain. Or it can take the properties of acid. You see our quirk is quite strong now. You see what I'm talking about, our quirk. It's a graffiti slash inkling quirk. So she can do like, this paint can be anything that she can imagine. She can draw anything and it will come to life. She can draw, if she like doesn't know the full potential of what she's drawing, then it will only have like what she thinks. So say now she draws a drawing of All Might, and she doesn't know that All Might has one for all, and that one like basically one for all is basically passed down and it gets stronger, and she doesn't know how strong one for all the quirk is. She will only give the strength of, say now, how strong she thinks All Might is going to be. And that would be not strong, because it will only be like 25% of how strong All Might will really be. As basically Izuku's quirk is OP. I have to say, it is very, very OP. As Izuki basically gets home, basically eats, and basically is now training. She's going to train by Dekuba Beach, as Dekuba Beach is going to be a bit more different now. Not different in the way of when she's done with it, it's going to be different. Because the sand is going to basically be, basically, how can I say it? Dekuba Beach is going to have rainbow colored sand, you can say, once she's finished with it. And she's also bringing her 4 weapons that she's gotten. Like I said, her 4 weapons are the sniper and the rolling pin, the massive rolling pin. Her other one, two, like her 2 basically double guns, and her 1 basically gun. Actually, I would say she like basically got rid of this gun and like basically like made a sword. This is her second weapon, is a sword. So she got 2, 1 long, 1 mid, and 2 close range. And 1 weapon can also ram a person. Yeah. So she got a sword, a rolling pin, basically double pistols, and a sniper. As Izuku basically decides to get training on strength. As basically she's cleaning up Dekurova Beach. As she finishes in, let's say, like I said, half of it, like in like just the like if it's canon, if I'm like looking at like My Academia as canon, Izuku Midoriya had a certain time to clean up the beach. Now basically it's half of how long Izuku took, just half that time, which is pretty quick. As Izuku now decides to train her quirk, and her quirk can easily be like cleaned up by water. So if there's like water just washes over a paint, the sea won't turn into a different color. No, it will just turn into water. As basically Izuku is basically using her quirk. The first weapon she's training with is a sword. As she's swinging it like left, right, as a person comes in, and it's Toshinori. I got his name finally, Toshinori. All Might, there we go. As basically Tajano is standing there watching this basically this kid like swing a sword, which is basically making like paint, like a line of paint that's getting splashed everywhere. As Toshinori is kind of like, how can I say, he's kind of worried that this person is basically damaging the basically life itself, because like paint is bad for like animals, especially sea animals and animals that live on the beach. Toshinori is worried about that, as basically when Toshinori looks at how the paint like goes in the water, it just turns into, basically it fades as it just turns into water, as it also gets washed out away very easily, as Toshinori is like thinking, so this is not permanent paint, as he like basically goes to a wall that's covered with it, as he wipes his finger over this paint, as basically it's kind of like on the border of slime and water, as Toshinori is like, it's kind of slimy and watery in a way. As basically Izuku's still training on a quirk, as she's doing flips, like basically backflips while swinging. She's basically very acrobatic. She's doing backflips, she's jumping, basically swinging. As basically he like Toshinori disappears just for a minute and turns into All Might, as basically he comes down to the beach, as he's like, so young lady, you're training your quirk, he says. Is like basically she gets afraid as she swings a sword to Toshinori while closing her eyes, as Toshinori gets a splash of paint on his just a line of paint going across his chest and his face. As Toshinori is like, I didn't expect that a reaction, as basically Izuku was like, All Might, I I didn't know you come here. As basically she's kind of freaking out. It's like, oh my gosh, it's All Might. Like I'm speaking to the number one hero. As basically like Toshinori is like, ha ha ha, don't fear, I'm fine. As basically All Might like asks her, is this paint permanent? As basically she's like, no 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 no, it's just my quirk. As basically Toshinori is like, so she has an ink quirk. Yeah, interesting. As basically he asks, so what are you doing? As she's like, training my quirk. As basically Almost like, so you use support items. As basically Izuku's like, yeah, it's the only way for me to use my quirk. As basically Almost like, haha, well your quirk is quite interesting, but I hope this paint can come off of the what it looks like the beach is like covered in line of paint, basically slash marks of different colored paint, as she's been like swapping through different colors every time. It's basically Toshinori saying, well, I hope this paint can actually come off. And she's like, yeah, it will wash off by the seawater. As Toshinori's like, you know paint can kill animals, especially sea animals. As Izuku's like, water basically, it's a quirk. Actually, the paint, the paint comes from a quirk. So basically, when it comes in contact with water, it will turn into water itself. As basically Toshinori is like, I see. As basically he is basically saying that she has an interesting quirk, as basically like All Might is thinking what a quirk could also do. It's like all he knows is it's paint quirk. It can produce paint, and she needs like support items. As basically All Might's thinking she's not going to be a very powerful hero or a good hero if she is trying to get into UA. As basically like she says that a quirk can also she can also make things come to life if whatever she draws can basically come become real. As Toshinori is like, as almost like, oh, as he thinks about this more, as basically he says whatever she can draw, as she has also an ink quirk, so basically whatever she draws comes to reality, is what she says. So as she demonstrates it, as she makes basically how can I say it, a basketball, but it's basically it's colored. It's a basically a whitish basketball. So the colored paint is white. No, it's this color, this pinkish purple color. As basically every time she bounces it, it leaves like a splash mark of pinkish purple. As basically is like as she throws it to Toshinori, as Toshinori like All Might catches it, as basically All Might like looks at his hand, and it also leaves like paint marks on whoever it touches. As basically she's like, I can give my paint also special effects such as basically acid effects or fire effects if like she feels like it. So if she wants to make her basically ink like acid, she can do that. If she wants her basically her ink to be like, how can I say it, like basically glue, it can become glue. As basically it's suited for like her to move quickly right now. As basically Toshinori is bouncing the basketball, as every time he bounces this colored basketball, it makes a splash mark on the sand. As basically All Might try something, as he wets it, as the entire splash mark turns to water. As basically All Might's like, I see, your quirk is pretty powerful. You might be a pretty strong hero one day. As he says in his basically a calm tone. As Izuku's like, really? As basically All Might says, yes, if you train your quirk more, you might become a very powerful hero one day. As basically she thanks All Might, as All Might is basically has to go now because he's been talking to her a while, and his time limit is coming, is chasing him on the butt now. As All Might says, but I have to go, I have to save more people. As basically he jumps off, demorphs, as basically he's gonna keep an eye on her. It's not that he thinks he's working for All for One. He's basically she has an interesting quirk. All my debuffs as he's thinking on her quirk more, as he just hears her words like echo in his mind. Whatever she paints can come to reality. As he's thinking on this more, as he's like, whatever she paints. So that means if she paints something as powerful as, say now, a person that can steal quirks, she can make that come to reality. As basically Toshinori thinks about it, as basically Toshinori says there must be a limitation to that. As basically, like, she goes to the beach and trains with her weaponry. As on like the day, like she gained enough money to buy another like weapon, and the weapon she bought was let me see here. There's a whole lot of weapons I could choose. I would say she got like another two like weapons. Like she got a bucket. She got like a bucket now, but it looks like this. Like she like changed the bucket to look like this. She also like bought an umbrella for herself. She also changed the umbrella, as basically she's training with these weapons as well. I'm not sure what the umbrella. I'm like the umbrella. I know the umbrella is like a shield. I think if I'm right, the umbrella is like the shield. As she's training with the rolling pin, as she's just running on the basically the beach, as the entire beach is one color. As basically when she was done like painting the beach over, she morphed into a squid. As her color today is, I have to choose, it's like this greenish color. As she morphed into a squid, as she like started zipping through like everywhere, doing jumps. As she's like, how can I say, training more, that like seeing what her quirk can do more. As she's also been drawing pictures like that she might need in the test that's coming up, that she could use. As she basically the day comes where the test arrives, as Izuki basically the makes her way to the quirk test. As, or no, not the quirk test, the entrance exam. There we go. I got that name wrong. Sorry, that's a mistake. Remember, this is a one take. So that means off the top of my mind, no script, one take. I'm not pausing if I make a mistake. Basically, I'm not doing it this video again if I make a mistake. So whatever mistakes I make is in this video. As you can also see, I am also human. I am not any type of person. I will let you hear my mistakes if it does come up. But if I can prevent it, I will try to pause the video. But continuing on, uh, Izuku makes her way to the basically entrance exam, and she does the test, does it relatively easily, as basically she also signed papers for basically her, gosh, her how many weapons, how many things does she have? She has one, two, three, basically her five weapons that she has. She has five weapons. Basically, she basically like basically signed a basically support item like script thing that she was using support items, and she's using the weapon that she has with her now is a rolling pin, as basically she has that a massive rolling pin on her back. uh, she's dressed like basically she's dressed in a basically a uniform, as she has two special like weapons her quirk has gave her now. She has this. She doesn't have the shield. She has this, basically this, the ink bomb and the ink bomb. Gosh, ink bomb. She has the ink bomb and the basically sticky bomb. She has these two, and she can use either one. She has, I think, a special attack. I think these are the special attacks. I'm probably sure these are the special attacks. I'm not sure. Her special attacks, I will just make up special attacks. Her special attack is an ink bomb, and her other special, basically the one that she got now, is basically she can fire basically ink. Basically, she becomes like a mortar and shoots multiple basically shots in the sky that makes massive basically ink explosions, as she can decide if this must be a real explosion to do damage or basically just something to, how can I say, knock back the enemy and hurt it a lot, or basically stun the enemy, like basically blind them, or even better, it can also basically just be something for just paintball, as Izuki is basically like preparing there with her one support weapon that she has with her. She doesn't have any other support weapons. She just took one because it's unfair if she has like, basically it makes no sense if she has like a sniper, a rolling pin, an umbrella, and double, basically a double gun and a bucket. She can't carry all those weapons. She can't carry all those support weapons. She needs to carry one of them at least. I mean, she can like, she is carrying her double guns because she can put them on the side of her. Basically, she can put it on her waist and kind of like hold it there. So yeah, she's carrying two weapons. So she's carrying the rolling pin and her double pistols. As basically everything goes as in canon. She doesn't mumble on this one. She's more confident, and basically she's more, how can I say it? If you talk down to her, she's gonna basically talk like basically put, how can I say it, defend herself in a way. She's more confident because she had a quirk all her life, so she's more confident now and more outgoing. As basically she's, I would say she's wearing her basically her school clothes, but her school clothes is modified to basically like, how can I say it? She's basically wearing this. This is like she's wearing a school sweater with basically, she's like what Deku weared when he entered the entrance exam, except she's wearing the basically the pants with it, or the shorts with it, and the tackies, because that's basically something for a quirk, a sister quirk. But the tackies, she just needs it for running purposes. As Izuku also has this black mask on, also, so I forgot to say that, but there's a little side note. She has that black thing on her, basically around her eyes always. As Izuku is, everything happens in canon, Ida still complains about that thing. As basically she sees this girl that is basically very stressed out up in front of the line. As she walks to her, there's basically the person that, like, basically someone touches her on her shoulder, and this shocks her as she pulls out a pistol and shoots this person in the face, as this person's entire face turns, like, is covered in a color of, color is now, like, right now, like a lightish blue, as basically she shoots this person in the face, as basically this person closes his eyes, as awkwardly, like, just wipes the paint off him as he opens them, as Izuku's like, "Oh gosh, I am so sorry. You just scared me there. I thought you were some type of creep." As it's Ida, as basically I would say he didn't wipe off the paint yet. The paint is still, like, on his face as he takes off his glasses. As you can see, the glasses defended his eyes. As he's like, "Miss, why do you have a paint weapon, a paintball weapon with you in this test? And why did you shoot me?" As Izuku's like, "Sorry, I thought you were some type of creep trying to creep up on me or something." Ida, like, understands, like, she was just defending herself, as basically Ida's like basically taking the handkerchief and wiping the paint off of his glasses, as basically is like, "Oh, that I understand. You were just defending yourself." As basically Ida says, like, if you are going to talk to someone, I would suggest you not. Like, they are basically very focused on the exam right now. As basically she says, "Alright," and she still walks off to her, as Ida's like, "Wait, miss, didn't you hear what I said?" As basically she said, "I heard what you said." She says, "I heard what you said. It's just, I'm not gonna listen to you. Because there's no rule saying that you can't do it." As she smiles at Ida, as she walks off, as Ida's like, Ida's just silent because she's right. There's no rule saying that you can't walk up to someone and just introduce yourself and talk to them. There was no rule saying you can't do that. As Ida is just silent on that one, as she walks up to Ochako, as basically she says, "So, you look stressed," as she says, as Ochako, like, gets scared, and she's like, "Ah," as basically she got a fright of the sudden voice behind her, as basically Ochako's like, "Oh, hi there," as basically Izuku introduces herself, as Ochako introduces herself too, basically as Izuku is talking to Ochako, like, trying to, how can I say, give her motivation, as basically, as, like, how can I say it, President Mike says, as soon as that door opens, you run straight through, as Izuku takes the weapon off her back, as it turns into a rolling pin, a massive one, but it's still folded up, as she's, like, holding it with two hands, as she's, like, preparing something, as like, basically when, like, the doors start opening, she jumps up and swings her rolling pin, as it makes this big line of, basically this line of just ink all over the floor, as basically she morphs into a squid and goes through the ink, as she just got it, like, basically she got a speed boost. She can keep up with Ida, if, like if she's in this, like, ink, like if she is moving through ink, she can keep up with Ida. She jumps out, does it again. She's making this constant line, like a path of ink. She comes up to the first one pointer. As she sees the one pointer and smacks it with the rolling pin. As basically she takes the arm, like, when she smacks the, like the one pointer so hard, she takes the arm off. As basically the one pointer's arm comes flying off, as she basically splashes the thing with ink, as it turns into a sort of, like, becomes like an acid type thing, as it burns through the, basically the one pointer's, basically, shell, as it melts it, as basically she's like, "One down," And she's like, 1 point, let's go. As basically she sees more 1 pointers and a 2 pointer. She goes, takes out a few 1 pointers, a few 2 pointers, 3 pointers. As everyone's getting into the nitty gritty thing, like the basically everyone's getting into the fight with the robots. As Ida's like past Izuku like a few like minutes ago because she was taking out a few 1 pointers and 2 pointers. And she also took down a 3 pointer and Ida passed her. As basically like her entire area is just covered with paint, and she like stops swinging her paint rolling pin down because there's no robots, and she puts a rolling pin on the floor and starts basically running, basically painting the floor with the rolling pin while she's running behind it. She's leaving a lot of ink behind, as basically like now it's just this like basically pathway like to show like where she's been, as basically she's like just painting the floor while she's doing this, and she's taking down a few 2 pointers, 3 pointers, 1 pointers. She's taken so many like she's also helped people. Like she's thrown like paint bombs, or she's basically assisted people out of like rubble, rescued people. As basically then the 0 pointer is released, as basically she can't cover like, because basically the city that they are fighting in is massive. She can't cover the entire city, and basically so you can say the entire beginning district, the walls, the buildings, all the buildings, and like the streets are covered with paint. Is basically she like just like close to the beginning and heading to the circle, so you get halfway. If you're like heading to the center of the entire city, halfway, that's where the paint stops. As she is somewhere there, halfway, as basically you see the 0 pointer appear. As Ochako, you basically Izuku hears someone screaming. Izuki hears someone screaming. As while everyone's running back to the basically the gate, they she sees Ochako trapped under the rubble. She goes basically hero mode, obviously, and she rushes towards Ochako. As she gets towards Ochako, as she says, "Are you okay?" As basically she's like, "Yeah, it's just I'm stuck under this rubble." As basically Izuku like lifts the rubble up, helps her, and picks her up as she runs with Ochako. As basically you guys must know how Izuku's supposed to pick Ochako up right now. Bridal Star runs, as basically she like makes her paint kind of slippery, as basically while the 0 pointers come in, she throws Ochako like throws it like a slide, like throws Ochako, like slides Ochako on her paint, as Ochako's just sliding all the way back to, how can I say it, say like safety. As she stops, as basically she like is trying to stall the 1 pointer now, as she takes out her pea shooter cannon, her double like basically her double pistols, as she shoots these massive ink blobs in the sky. As she's like a mortar now, every like shot, as basically she like when these shots hit, it makes a massive explosion of ink, and it also like just like is destroying the 0 pointer, as all you can hear is bang bang the whole time, bang bang, as the 0 pointer is covered in paint, as it's also getting destroyed as its arm falls off, as this paint also becomes like an acid, but it stays its same color. And like I said, the color is kind of light blue, light bluish green. As basically 0 pointer is defeated, and she's like, well, that takes care of the 0 pointer. As basically the the entrance exam is over, as basically recovery girl enters this paint mayhem. All the people are like near the beginning, so the entire like beginning of the entrance exam where the gate opens is covered with paint. The walls are splashed with different types of colors of paint. As Izuku hasn't used the other side of her quirk yet, she wanted to use it, but she didn't bring a notebook, which is basically she just forgot a notebook that she didn't bring. And she's like, "Damn it! I could have used some. I could have used some. I could have used some of the drawings I made to defeat the zero pointer. Would have been much more easier." As Izuku thought. As Izuku's like, maybe next time. As she walks off, she's basically, while she's like, basically she runs off, and she's making a new path of ink with a rolling pin all the way back to the beginning. As she gets back, as she stops making ink because the entire, like, when you enter the gate is just filled with like ink. Like the color is light blue. So basically the buildings are light blue, the alleyways are light blue, the rooftops are light blue. It's like just light blue ink. As basically she stops, as basically she needs a rest because she's been using her quirk for a few minutes now and she's getting tired. As basically she goes home, as she takes a rest, as she gets the letter from UA, as basically it's All Might, and All Might says that she got not fourth place. She didn't get first place, she got fourth. As he also says, either then you like painting the entire entrance way to the test field as like light blue, you did well. You did basically great. As the points that boosted her the most were the rescue points, as she also took out a zero pointer, which also saved a few other people. As also the basically the ink pathway that she left is also like it won't, like she's like decided not to harm, like it wouldn't harm any children that she wouldn't harm, but it would harm all the things that she's trying to, how can I say, destroy. For any robot that got caught in a, like basically got caught in this pathway of paint, or basically was in basically like a puddle of paint, yeah, they were slowly melting. As she got a bit more rescue points, as she got more rescue points than villain points. As basically All Might congratulates her and says, welcome to your, like, welcome to your Hero Academia. As basically she's ecstatic, I guess. She's excited as she got into UA. As she's basically dancing. As that's it for now. The next video that will be coming up of this video, if I make another like Splatoon video, what if Deku was an inkling? I will be continuing where Deku is his first, basically Izuki's first day in UA, and the basically quirk test, and basically the USJ. That's it for now, guys. I'm signing out right now, so that's it for now. Bye, Rogue Assassin, out.